Have you ever started your day with something that feels healthy only to find out later that it might be silently damaging your body? Most seniors eat this one common breakfast thinking it fuels their brain. But the truth is, it's triggering chronic inflammation that worsens joint pain, brain fog, and even memory decline. As a brain doctor, I've seen the pattern too many times. This isn't hype, it's what most physicians never have time to explain. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden culprit and what you can eat instead to feel sharper, calmer, and pain-free starting tomorrow morning. Imagine waking up with stiff joints every morning. You stretch, hoping the ache will fade by the time you reach the kitchen. You pour yourself a bowl of cereal or toast some white bread, maybe drink a glass of orange juice. It's a routine that feels harmless. In fact, it feels good, comforting, familiar. After all, it's what you've done for decades. But here's the uncomfortable truth, that breakfast may be one of the quietest, most consistent triggers of chronic inflammation in your body, especially after age 60. As a brain doctor, I've seen this scenario unfold more times than I can count. Seniors come into my office with fatigue, mild memory problems, slow recovery after illness, or chronic pain they can't quite explain. Many believe it's just part of getting older. But when I look closer, when I ask about their routine, their stress, and yes, what they eat first thing in the morning, I often find a pattern that's far more preventable than people realize. We live in a world where food has become both abundant and confusing. Labels scream heart healthy, low fat, or all natural, while hiding harmful ingredients in fine print. And nowhere is that more true than in what we call breakfast. Processed cereals, sugary yogurts, flavored oats, and packaged bars are a staple in homes worldwide, and particularly for older adults, who often prioritize ease over scrutiny. These foods are marketed as nutritious, energy-giving, and doctor-recommended. But in reality, many of them are fueling something far more dangerous than fatigue: inflammation. Inflammation is a natural biological process. It's your body's way of fighting off infection or repairing injury. You cut your finger, it swells. You get the flu, your body heats up. That's your immune system doing its job. But there's another type of inflammation, chronic low-grade inflammation, that doesn't come with clear warning signs. It doesn't cause a fever or turn red. It lingers quietly in the background, slowly eroding your health. And breakfast, of all things, maybe its daily spark. Let's break this down with a bit of science. When you eat foods high in refined sugars or simple carbohydrates, like white toast or most cereals, your blood sugar spikes rapidly. Your body responds by producing insulin to bring levels down. But these constant sugar surges over time cause your cells to become less responsive to insulin. This leads to higher blood sugar, which contributes to inflammation throughout the body and particularly in your brain and joints. It's a cycle that's easy to miss until it shows up in your life as memory fog, slow wound healing, swollen knees, or trouble sleeping. Now, consider the nervous system. Your brain is protected by a barrier that keeps harmful substances out, but systemic inflammation weakens that barrier. This allows inflammatory molecules to sneak into places they shouldn't, like brain tissue. This is why poor diet and inflammation are now strongly linked to cognitive decline, including dementia and Alzheimer's disease. What you eat doesn't just affect your waistline. It affects how clearly you think, how well you remember, and how emotionally resilient you feel in the face of stress. Statistics paint a sobering picture. According to the CDC, 6 in 10 adults in the U.S. have a chronic disease, and 4 in 10 have 2 or more. These diseases, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, are deeply connected to inflammation, and yet, many seniors are never told that their breakfast choices are part of the problem. They're offered pills, not lifestyle shifts. They're told to cut back on sugar, but never shown where that sugar hides. Consider this. The average American breakfast cereal contains between 12 and 20 grams of sugar per serving. Add milk, maybe a banana, maybe a juice box, and suddenly you've had the sugar equivalent of a soda all before 9 a.m. Even granola, often viewed as healthy, is typically baked with oils and sweeteners that promote inflammation. And it's not just sugar. Many of these products include oxidized oils like soybean or corn oil, emulsifiers, and additives that disrupt the gut lining and trigger immune responses. The problem is systemic, and it's not your fault. We've been sold a version of health that's based on convenience and marketing, not long-term well-being. But now that you know this, the power to change becomes yours. And change doesn't mean deprivation. It simply means awareness. In fact, there's good news. Your body is incredibly responsive. Within just a few weeks of removing inflammatory breakfast triggers, many people report less brain fog, better joint mobility, and steadier energy. It's not magic, it's biology. And while this might sound dramatic, how can something as small as breakfast have such big consequences? Think of it this way. Breakfast sets the tone. It is the first instruction you give your body every day. It tells your brain what kind of day to prepare for. Will it be a day of inflammation, blood sugar spikes, and sluggish focus, or a day of stability, clarity, and calm? That's why this conversation matters now more than ever. Because as we age, our bodies change. We don't digest or detoxify the same way we did in our 20s. We have to be smarter, gentler with our choices. And that begins, quite literally, with the first thing we put into our mouth each morning. So today, we'll walk through exactly what to avoid, why it matters, and most importantly, what to eat instead. You don't need a new diet. You don't need extreme routines. You need clear information and a simple, compassionate plan that works for your life. Because your brain, your joints, your gut, they've done so much for you. It's time to give something back. Let's start by uncovering the 3 most common breakfast mistakes that trigger inflammation and how to break the cycle starting tomorrow. When we talk about inflammation, the word often feels vague. You might picture a sprained ankle or a red rash, but the inflammation we're discussing here is quieter, more invisible, and more dangerous because it doesn't scream, it whispers. Let's start with what makes this such a widespread and harmful issue. Most people don't know it's happening at all. They simply wake up tired, feel bloated after meals, struggle to focus in the afternoon, or notice their knees ache more than they used to over time. They accept these as signs of aging, but in reality, much of it is preventable. And for many, the fuel feeding this internal fire begins first thing in the morning with the very breakfast foods we're told are healthy. Mini Section 1, Root Causes. What really triggers inflammation in breakfast? Let's unpack the hidden chemistry behind a seemingly innocent meal. 1. Refined sugars and simple carbohydrates. When you eat something like a sugary cereal, white toast, or a flavored yogurt, your body digests it quickly. Your blood sugar spikes rapidly, and your pancreas scrambles to release insulin. That insulin spike helps move the sugar into your cells for energy. But over time, when this happens every single morning, your cells become resistant. Your body stops responding properly to insulin. This is called insulin resistance, and it's a key driver of inflammation. Think of your bloodstream as a quiet river. Sugary, fast-digesting breakfast foods are like pouring buckets of gasoline into it. Your immune system reacts as if there's a crisis over and over again, until it forgets how to turn off the alarm. 2. Seed oils and processed fats. Margarine on toast, granola bars with canola oil, frozen breakfast sandwiches. These foods often contain oxidized oils like soybean, sunflower, and corn oil. These fats are highly unstable under heat and pressure, like what they endure during manufacturing. And when they oxidize, they produce compounds that damage your cells. These oils may be listed in tiny print on the back of a package, but their effects are not tiny. They integrate into your cell membranes and make your immune system behave as if it's under attack. 3. Artificial additives and gut disruption. Many processed breakfast foods contain additives like carrageenan, emulsifiers, artificial sweeteners, and preservatives. These substances can irritate the intestinal lining and damage the gut barrier, leading to something called intestinal permeability or leaky gut. Imagine your gut lining as a cheesecloth that's supposed to let nutrients pass through, but keep toxins and undigested particles out. Inflammation pokes holes in that lining, letting things slip into your bloodstream that don't belong there. Your immune system notices these invaders and launches a constant, low-grade attack. You don't feel it at first, but over time, it becomes fatigue, brain fog, or chronic disease. Mini Section 2. Long-term effects. What happens if you ignore? This ignoring inflammatory triggers, especially in breakfast, doesn't just make you sluggish. It sets the stage for serious, life-altering conditions. 1. Cognitive decline and memory loss. Your brain is not separate from your body's inflammation. In fact, it's often the most vulnerable target. Inflammatory cytokines, chemical messengers, can cross the blood-brain barrier and disrupt neurons. This interferes with synaptic communication, which is how your brain cells talk to each other. Result: you forget names, lose focus, feel emotionally off. Over time, this chronic exposure is now believed to increase the risk of neurodegenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's. Think of inflammation like a fog machine turned on low. At first, the room is fine, but slowly, it fills with mist. You can't see as clearly. Eventually, you bump into furniture. The longer it's left on, the harder it becomes to remember what the room looked like in the first place. To joint pain and muscle stiffness. Systemic inflammation often settles in the joints, especially if you already have arthritis or a history of injury. When the immune system stays on, it attacks the soft tissue, cartilage, and lining inside the joints. This is why so many people feel stiffest in the morning, because they unknowingly fuel inflammation before their day even begins, and then they repeat that cycle the next morning. Over time, that stiffness becomes pain. That pain becomes dependency on painkillers. That dependency masks the root cause. 3. Silent conditions: heart disease, diabetes, fatty liver. Many chronic illnesses in older adults, especially after 60, begin not with symptoms, but with blood markers. Elevated CRP, C-reactive protein, higher fasting glucose, triglycerides. These are often early signs of inflammatory overload. Doctors may see these numbers and prescribe medications, but the underlying lifestyle trigger goes unaddressed. And often, the first and most consistent inflammatory exposure is breakfast. Mini Section 3. How people make it worse without knowing. This might be the most heartbreaking part. Most people think they're doing the right thing. They choose low-fat yogurt, whole grain cereal, or light margarine. But the way these foods are processed makes all the difference. 1. Trusting labels instead of ingredients. Marketing terms like natural, light, or heart-healthy are not regulated indicators of nutritional value. Many healthy cereals are packed with 10 grams of sugar per serving. Flavored yogurts can rival dessert, and whole grain breads may still be ultra-processed, bleached, and preserved. We've been conditioned to trust the front of the box, but the truth always hides in the back. 2. Relying on convenience over preparation. Morning is rushed. Many seniors rely on convenience to get food on the table, but processed breakfast options are engineered to be hyperpalatable, meaning they hit your reward system hard, but offer very little in terms of nutrients. And the worst part, these foods often make you hungrier later, leading to poor choices at lunch and dinner. It's not laziness, it's a system designed to make you tired and dependent. Food should give energy, not steal it. 3. Eating the same thing every morning. Consistency is good, but not when the food is harming you. Many seniors eat the same exact breakfast for years. A bowl of cereal, a piece of white toast, maybe a processed breakfast bar. When inflammatory foods are eaten occasionally, the body can recover. But when they're part of a daily ritual, the damage is cumulative. You're stoking a fire you don't even see. What doctors often don't tell you: here's the hard truth. Most doctors aren't trained in nutrition. In medical school, the average doctor receives fewer than 20 hours of nutritional education across 4 years. Most of it is focused on deficiency diseases: scurvy, rickets, not chronic, modern inflammation. So when a patient comes in with fatigue, brain fog, or early signs of arthritis, they're often given a pill, not a plate. And breakfast isn't discussed at all. They'll say cut sugar, but won't explain that sugar hides in yogurt, juice, cereal, and even bread. They'll say eat whole grains, but not distinguish between steel-cut oats and preserved wheat crackers. They'll tell you to watch your cholesterol, but not mention how seed oils and processed carbs impact inflammation more than dietary fat ever could. This gap in communication leads millions of people, especially seniors, down a path of confusion, self-blame, and helplessness. But you don't need to stay there. Conclusion: a fire without flames, chronic inflammation, is a fire without smoke. It doesn't shout, it simmers, and breakfast, for many, is the match. But when you understand the root causes, the long-term risks, and the ways we unknowingly feed the flame, you gain the power to change your story. You no longer accept joint pain as destiny, or forgetfulness as unavoidable. You no longer reach for cereal because it's easy. You reach for food that loves you back, because you're not too old to heal, you're not too late to change, and the first step is knowing what's really on your plate. In the next section, we'll reveal the foods you can eat instead, meals that reduce inflammation, support your brain, and bring energy back into your mornings. Let's flip the script together. Now that we've peeled back the layers of chronic inflammation and its connection to common breakfast choices, let's shift into something far more empowering: the solution. The truth is, your first meal of the day can be your medicine, or it can be your trigger. You don't need to give up breakfast. You just need to give up the wrong kind of breakfast. And here's the best part: you don't need fancy supplements or extreme diets. You simply need to eat in a way that supports your brain, calms inflammation, and works with your aging body, not against it. Let's introduce the star of our solution: the anti-inflammatory breakfast routine. Backed by science, built on simplicity, and designed specifically for older adults who want more energy, less pain, and better clarity. What it is: the anti-inflammatory breakfast blueprint. The anti-inflammatory breakfast is not a product, it's a pattern. A pattern that emphasizes stable blood sugar, nutrient density, could support healthy fats, and protein, low sugar, low processing, and high fiber. In simple terms, this breakfast plan removes the usual culprits: refined grains, added sugars, oxidized oils, and replaces them with clean, balanced, nourishing foods. It focuses on real ingredients, things you recognize, pronounce, and digest easily. How it works: the science of inflammation and meal timing. When you eat a high sugar or highly processed breakfast, your body goes into a metabolic spiral. You spike insulin, which triggers inflammation. Your gut microbiome gets disrupted. Your brain becomes foggy. Over time, your body learns to stay in a fight or flight mode, reacting to even small irritants. But when you eat an anti-inflammatory breakfast, here's what happens instead: blood sugar remains stable, reducing cortisol spikes and energy crashes. The gut remains calm, preserving the integrity of the intestinal lining and keeping inflammation markers like CRP, C-reactive protein, low. Brain function improves because you're not triggering inflammatory cytokines that cross the blood-brain barrier. Mitochondrial energy increases, so you feel more awake without needing caffeine or sugar jolts. One 2017 study published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that older adults who consumed more omega-3 fatty acids and polyphenol-rich foods in the morning had lower systemic inflammation and better cognitive scores than those eating refined carb-based breakfasts. When and how to use it: timing, frequency, and simplicity. Let's walk through a typical anti-inflammatory morning. 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. Wake-up routine: start with warm lemon water, 1/2 lemon squeezed into 1 cup warm water. Optional: add a pinch of turmeric and black pepper for extra anti-inflammatory benefit. Avoid caffeine for the first 60 minutes to allow cortisol to naturally rise. 7:30 to 8 a.m. Movement: a 5 to 10 minute walk, stretch, or gentle yoga practice to wake up the lymphatic system and reduce overnight stiffness. 8 o'clock to 8:30 a.m. Breakfast: choose one of the anti-inflammatory breakfast options listed below. Eat slowly, chew thoroughly. Don't multitask while eating. No scrolling or TV. Daily frequency: make this your default. Breakfast at least 5 to 6 days per week. The goal is consistency. Your gut and immune system thrive on routine. Anti-inflammatory breakfast options: Option 1. Brain balancing oat bowl base, steel-cut oats, or rolled oats, unsweetened add-ins, chia seeds, ground flaxseed, cinnamon toppings, fresh berries, blueberries, raspberries, sliced almonds, or walnuts. Optional: drizzle of raw honey or monk fruit for light sweetness. Why it works: Oats are high in beta-glucan's immune-supportive fibers, berries are antioxidant-rich, and cinnamon helps control blood sugar. Option 2. Avocado toast plus egg base, sprouted grain or sourdough bread 1 slice spread. Half a ripe avocado, mashed top with 1 poached or boiled egg, pinch of turmeric, sea salt, and black pepper optional side, a handful of arugula. With olive oil and lemon. Why it works: healthy fats from avocado, protein from the egg, and anti-inflammatory compounds from turmeric create a balanced, brain-loving plate. Option 3. Chia seed pudding. Make a head base. 2 TBSP chia seeds plus 1 cup unsweetened almond or oat milk flavor. Add cinnamon, vanilla extract, and a dash of nutmeg toppings, pumpkin seeds, coconut flakes, or a few pomegranate seeds. Prep tip: mix ingredients the night before and refrigerate. Why it works: rich in omega-3 south, fiber, and plant-based protein, perfect for gut health and joint support. Dos and don'ts: dos, do drink water or herbal tea before and during breakfast. Ginger, chamomile, or green tea are best. Do batch prep ingredients on Sundays. Pre-make chia pudding. Portion oat jars. Do rotate your options to keep your microbiome diverse and reduce food sensitivities. Do eat within 90 minutes of waking up to avoid cortisol spikes unless following a doctor-approved fasting plan. Don't start your day with fruit juice. It's just liquid sugar with the fiber stripped away. Don't eat flavored yogurts with more than 5 grams of sugar per serving. Don't microwave plastic packaged foods or frozen breakfast sandwiches with seed oils. Don't assume whole grain means healthy. Read the ingredient list, optional alternatives, and myths to avoid. Myth 1. Low fat means healthy. Fat isn't the enemy, bad fat is. Avocados, olive oil, seeds, and nuts are your friends. Low-fat products often compensate with sugar or thickeners. Myth 2. Fruit is always good in the morning. Whole fruits are fine in moderation, but avoid stacking them with other sugars like juice or honeyed yogurt. Stick with berries, which are lower in sugar and higher in anti-inflammatory compounds. Myth 3. Skipping breakfast helps lose weight. While intermittent fasting can work for some, seniors often need morning fuel for cognition and stability. The key is what you eat, not whether you eat. Myth 4. Granola is a healthy choice. Most store-bought granola is cooked in inflammatory oils and loaded with sweeteners. If you love it, make your own with oats, seeds, and a small amount of maple syrup baked at low heat. The gentle shift that changes everything. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet in a day. Start with one of these breakfast options. Observe how you feel physically and mentally. Within a week, you may notice less bloating, easier movement in the morning, clearer thinking, more consistent energy, less sugar craving throughout the day. And that's just the beginning. Remember, your body isn't fighting you, it's responding to what you give it. When you begin your day with the right message, everything else begins to align. In the next section, we'll talk about what happens when this becomes a habit, the long-term transformation that comes from one small decision repeated daily. Let's move from food to feeling. Change rarely announces itself with fanfare. There's no trumpet when your joints stop aching in the morning. No spotlight when your thoughts become a little clearer. No applause when you rise from your chair without wincing. But these are the quiet victories that come when you begin feeding your body what it's actually asking for. The anti-inflammatory breakfast isn't about restriction. It's not a punishment or a short-term fix. It's an active daily care, a message you send to your body that says, I'm ready to support you now. And over time, that message gets louder than any pill, louder than any label, louder than the noise that once made health feel confusing or out of reach. So what happens when you apply this one tip consistently? Let's begin with the body, the physical transformation within. The first week of switching to an anti-inflammatory breakfast, many people report feeling lighter. That doesn't necessarily mean weight loss, it means reduced bloating, less stiffness, more energy. By the second week, the spikes and crashes you used to feel mid-morning begin to level out. You're not reaching for sugar or coffee to stay awake. Your energy becomes steady, like a quiet current, rather than a series of highs and crashes. Within the first month, inflammation markers begin to decline. You may not see this unless you're getting blood work, but you'll feel it in subtler ways. Your joints don't feel as hot or puffy. Your stomach doesn't gurgle after eating. Your skin looks clearer, less irritated. You fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. And for many, this is when something beautiful happens. You begin to trust your body again. It's not fighting you, it's healing with you. The cognitive reawakening, one of the most profound changes happens in the brain. Most people don't realize how much their morning meals affect their mental state. But when you reduce inflammatory foods, your brain finally gets a break from chemical interference. Here's what that looks like in real life. You read a paragraph once and remember it. You walk into a room and remember why you're there. You feel less overwhelmed by decisions. Your emotions don't swing as wildly. This isn't magic, it's biology. Inflammatory cytokines, the chemical messengers released by immune cells, can impair neurotransmitter activity and disrupt memory formation. When you reduce those signals, the brain does what it naturally wants to do: function with clarity and calm. For seniors, especially, this cognitive support is invaluable. It's not about being perfect, it's about preserving what matters: your independence, your conversations, your sense of self. The emotional shift as your body calms, your emotions do too. Many seniors describe feeling lighter, not just physically, but emotionally. That heavy fog of fatigue and confusion lifts. You feel more capable, more willing to move, more interested in your day. And here's the beauty of it: small successes build on themselves. When your morning starts well, you're more likely to make better choices at lunch. You might go for a walk. You might call a friend. You feel good, so you do good. You become the opposite of inflamed. You become grounded. And this stability brings a subtle but powerful gift: dignity. Because dignity doesn't come from never aging. It comes from knowing that you are still able to care for yourself with intention, that you still have agency, that you can choose foods, habits, and rhythms that support your vitality, not out of fear, but out of respect for the life you've lived. The bigger picture: over time, the benefits compound. Lower inflammation reduces your risk of major chronic diseases: heart disease, type 2 diabetes, neurodegeneration. You might lose weight naturally or sleep more soundly. You might cut down on medications. But more than that, you gain a sense of partnership with your body. It's a long game, but it's a worthy one. And it begins not with surgery, not with supplements, not with a complete life overhaul, but with one small, quiet, powerful shift, changing how you begin your day. A bowl of oats instead of sugary cereal, avocado and egg instead of white toast and jam, a warm mug of tea instead of juice. These aren't just food swaps, they're life signals. They're you saying, I choose healing. And healing, though it often starts invisibly, always ends up visible in your posture, in your skin, in your voice, in the way you move through the world. Final thought: you don't need to fix everything today. You just need to try breakfast differently tomorrow. Because when you give your body less fire to fight, it finally has a chance to rest, to repair, to do what it was built to do: keep you alive, alert, and connected. And that is worth everything. If this message resonated with you, if it made you pause and rethink your morning routine, leave the word healing in the comments. Because healing doesn't always begin in hospitals or with prescriptions. Sometimes it starts quietly, with breakfast. You have more power than you've been told, and your body is always listening. If someone you love is struggling with fatigue, pain, or confusion, share this video with them. They deserve to feel better, too. Thank you for spending this time with us. Your attention, your curiosity, your willingness to change, it matters more than you know.